We will be back in a moment and talk security. Stay with us.
Monguno local government area in Borno State is home to about 500,000 people who have been displaced from Baga, a fishing town in the Lake Chad region. Their continued stay in Monguno has further stretched the inadequate facilities for the people of the town. That perhaps explains why Governor Babagana Zulum is on tour of the area, starting from Kukawa, where thousands of locals are being managed in a camp until it is safe for them to return to their homes. Governor Zulum's next stop is Baga, where he is received by the army. But unlike in Kukawa, the governor's passage isn't a smooth one, as the army dispatches armored personnel carriers to comb the adjoining towns before his convoy is allowed in. While that is on, gunshots fill the air, causing pandemonium as everyone scampered for safety. The governor's bodyguards did all within their power to take him out of harm's way, just as security escorts repelled the attack. When calm returned, this altercation ensued between Governor Zulum and the commanding officer concerning the presence of Boko Haram insurgents in Baga.
What happened is that the shooting that has happened this evening is not for Boko Haram.
There is.
If that is the case, then we are defeated.
No, we have cleared them.
1,181 soldiers and 75 officers. We cannot go into a town that has no more than 10 Boko Haram inside.
Your Excellency, there is no Boko Haram inside Baga town.
We remain grateful to all
but you know, I mean,
the commitment is not there.
There's no Boko Haram inside the town. Huh? There is none. Just a pocket that infiltrated.
Boko Haram. If there's no Boko Haram, where can we go in?
A pocket infiltrated, and we have cleared them. We have.
Governor Zulum then aborts his mission to Baga and other towns in the area, calling for an overhaul of the security structure, preparatory to returning displaced residents to their former places of abode.
You heard what has happened in Baga, and I think that's a very serious, it's a complete sabotage. As far as I'm concerned, there's no Boko Haram inside the town yesterday. That was a very serious shootings by the Nigerian armed forces who are residing in Baga. They have also compares. And the situation is very embarrassing. So I think we shall give them some sufficient time, because Baga is very important. The shores of the Lake Chad provides employment opportunities to not fewer than 10 million people who are residing in the northeast.
With circumstances surrounding the attack on the governor's convoy still unclear, the Nigerian army says it is investigating the incident with the hope of bringing those responsible to book.
So to give us perspectives on what you just saw in the report, we've got Mr. Innocent Chukwuma, who is the Regional Director of West Africa for Ford Foundation. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, clearly, that was, who knows, just who knows. I mean, the daily is reflected in different ways. Borno governor to army telling them, I'll use hunters if you can't protect us. This is not the first time that he's saying some of this. And we also eventually heard the army in that clip, and the army eventually also did say that they are investigating the matter. So that's how today's Vanguard, for instance, reflects that particular story. Now, looking at all of this, what's going through your mind?
It's actually a wholesale loss of trust and confidence in the machinery of the state to protect the people. And it's not just within the military, where you also have its own internal trust issues between the rank and file and the commanders, whom yesterday, I think it was today's papers, actually reported that a soldier shot the commander because he had not been paid for 8 months and needed a pass to go and sort it out, and he was refused, and he did that. today's
Even though the army said it was depressed.
Yes, well, there are several accounts when something like that happened. Abuja-Kaduna Road yesterday, people who were going to Kaduna State for the festival, several of them were kidnapped because their vehicles were laid on the road. And you read, so one thing running consistently across these stories is that people are beginning to take their destinies in their own hands. They have been repeatedly reassured, promised by the state that things will return to normalcy. So the aura of the state power to protect, because actually what a state does that reassures the citizens, not only when you deploy people, when you hear that agents of the state are coming, the fear alone is enough to put miscreants or criminals at bay. But it would appear in Nigerian context today, nobody fears state power anymore. You have elements outside the state that actually have more powers, more equipped. I was watching the shootout. I mean, the number of gunshots. Even those who were supposed to protect the governors were running for their own safety. So if the governor of the state who repeatedly reassures the citizens that he would address their safety and security needs could not protect himself with all the people around him, what do you expect the people to do?
Well, let's bring in retired Colonel Yomi Dare, former Director, Army Legal Services. He joins us from Abuja. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, looking at that, and the Daily is saying, look, the governor telling them, if you can't protect us, we will resort to hunters. I mean, saying that to the military, I mean, sometimes you just ask yourself, what is going on in this country? How did we get to this? Because this clearly showcases a sign of weakness on the part of the army.
Chamberlain, thank you very much for bringing me on board this morning, and Barka de Sallah to you and fellow Nigerians. It is very, very saddening to hear this comment from no less a person but than the governor of a state. I want to quickly put in something here that we must all exercise some restraint from, outbursts, emotional outbursts, we all know, it's a common knowledge that we have security challenges in this country, and it cuts across the board, and it's deeper, in the Northeast. I can understand. And you recall the governor of Benue State, when he was also under the weather in terms of these attacks from herdsmen, and he made similar remarks too. So we've had the military. The army has said that they are going to investigate it. There's no doubt. I cannot rule out possibility of black sheep within the fold. It's something that it's not new all over the world. But since the army has said they will investigate this, and then I would urge the authority to please do everything possible and come out with their investigation report. Having said that, I also believe that there's need, like I said earlier, on this on another platform on channels. I said, look, there's need for us to kind of restructure, our general architecture, especially as it relates to our security generally. So there's need for that. Let's not fool ourselves. I mean, the citizen, everyone is, losing patience, and you can't really blame. And even as a retired military officer, I don't feel comfortable, traveling on the roads. I mean, I don't move about with a convoy. I mean, if a governor that moves about with a convoy is being threatened and attacked, then what about the common citizens? So I think it's high time that we all rise up to this occasion. I mean, we can't all be pretending and lying about this. I think there's need for a decisive action, from the top at this moment, especially as it concerns security.
Right. So chief executives have, as you also pointed out, have consistently pointed out how they do not, how frustrated they are about some of these activities, this one that we just saw inclusive. When you say the army have said they will investigate and come up with certain things, but what would you say to those who just feel, look, they've said these things before, that they were going to investigate and come up with something, but what kind of action do you want to see moving forward?
Yeah, thank you very much. And that's why I'm emphasizing that in order to manage its reputation or her reputation, the military really needs to go deep into this and come out with their report and deal decisively with whosoever is involved in these incidents. I mean, it's absolutely uncalled for. It's absolutely uncalled for. And there's also the need to kind of, look at the soldiers. Of course, when first and foremost, when there's a crisis and the military is involved, a lot of things happen. A lot of things. There's a lot of unanticipated consequences of military exercises. So, and then when you allow these soldiers, when they probably stay for too long in a theater of operation, they are human beings. People have personal needs, and they need to attend to such things, and they are not allowed to go. They tend to start, taking their destiny in their own hands, so to speak. I mean, I recall back in the days, in Liberia, a captain once shot his commander. Honestly, I find this situation very, very embarrassing, because here we are, for over 10 years, we've been fighting this ragtag, terrorists in the name of Boko Haram. Even the Nigerian Civil War was prosecuted. Everything was wrapped up in 3 years. So honestly, I think there's some underlying things going on here. So there's a cause for deep investigation. I honestly think we need to face that reality that we have to get out of the state. I mean, for crying out loud, I see no reason why by now we cannot even declare an emergency situation in the entire Northeast, so that once more, I call for this, and I feel very, very passionate about this. Enough of this. And I had the Senate minority leader, Senator Ndume, he expressing his displeasure on the amnesty granted these terrorists. Honestly, I think these people should be dealt with decisively and kept in the cooler once and for all. It's high time. It's high time.
Well,
this.
Yeah, just
embarrassing for the whole nation, for the military in particular. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Colonel. Just hang on a minute, Colonel.
I also see a situation.
Okay, go ahead. What situation would that be?
Yes, that the military should develop a quick intervention force. Quick intervention force, and they must really work in conjunction or in synergy with the Air Force, such that max 20-25 minutes, if there's an incident, they are airdropped there, and then they take charge. What are we talking about?
All right, Colonel, just a minute. Well, can these solutions, perhaps this intervention first, the policing component seems to be missing in all of these things?
Yeah, policing component is a very important one that has been de-emphasized in terms of resources and in terms of prioritization. But it's also understandable when you have an active conflict of this nature that has gone beyond what the regular police with the regular arms that they use can deal with. You need military to really do a quick job and leave for the police to come in. but the military aspect has lingered over this period of time. He was talking about the Civil War being wrapped up in 3 years and this one lingering for over a decade now. But what we seem to forget is that these are the same people, right? If a Boko Haram removes whatever insignia and they're gone, the person will mix freely with the local population. And in a situation such as we saw yesterday, where the local population have not been sufficiently convinced that the state has the wherewithal to protect them. So there is that ambivalence. Do we show loyalty to Boko Haram? Do we show loyalty to the state? To whom should we give information? If we give information to the state and they don't act and Boko Haram comes and deals with us, who comes to our aid? So we have to deal with that. That's where the people are caught in all of this. And then the other one is also to realize that this thing cannot be solved by merely increasing the capacity of the military or the police. There is the rebuilding of communities. There is the need for political solution, so to say, which has not been seriously invested in. And then within the military itself, there is also very low morale, coming from the fact that for over 5 years now, the top echelon of the services, who should have retired and make room for the junior ones or the ones lower in rank to rise in there, because there's nothing a soldier or a security official enjoys than the whole idea that, oh, in 2-3 years' time, it will be my turn to get to this rank. And that will clear the way and make people realize that they will be recognized that this has been missing.
You just mentioned something that I think Colonel Larry Richard also mentioned, which is that there is something going on. If this has lingered for more than 10 years and we are not getting to the end of it. You talked about a political solution. What kind of political solution would that be, and who should take the lead?
Well, is that the government at various levels, beginning with the federal government, because the military is controlled by the federal government. There isn't much the state can do by ensuring that within the military itself, that the morale is high enough. Beginning with this whole issue of people, when they are due to be moved away from the active theater. Some people have been there for 2 years without being removed. The guy who shot his commander got married last year and needed time away to attend to his family. And he came back and his salary was stopped. And he requested several times to be given a pass to go and attend to it. And it wasn't done. I'm not saying that what he did by shooting his commander is the right thing to do, but something created that avenue for him to resort to that action. So you have pockets of that going on. And then the leaders of the region itself. When something like this happened, I remember during Obasanjo's time when the Niger Delta militancy was raging, he went to the region and asked loudly, are there no leaders in this community? Why are all these youths running around without the elders talking to them? In our traditional societies, when things get out of hand, the elders are called in to bring in their own solution. I don't know to what extent that is going on. I believe the governor might be doing that, which is why he's expressing his frustration that the complementary support he needs from federal forces are not coming. But where I don't agree with him was he quickly absolved both the president and the chief of army staff, that is people on the ground. And they say when things start to go bad, when a fish starts to, it starts from the head. When people who are doing this feel that those high up there are not giving them the necessary support and not encouraging them the way that will make them to bring their best, they just leave it, like that. Since they up there are comfortable and enjoying themselves, is it we on the front here that will die? This is what you hear when you interact with some of these frontline soldiers and police officers, that people up there, if they are interested in solving this problem, that they know what to do.
Well, Colonel, this is where you come in here. How do we arrest this within the army? Because the country cannot afford this kind of stories emanating from the army. Because if they feel there's huge discontent, cases of soldiers turning against themselves, how should they approach this?
Well, like I said earlier, you see, anytime you have crises and the military is involved, there's what you call unintended consequences of military, action. So whether you like it or not, it happens all over. Even in more civilized clime, you get such things happening. Okay, but I'm not saying that that's the proper thing and that's the right thing or right way to go. how do we solve this problem? Well, somehow the last speaker, Mr. Innocent Chukuma, what he has alluded to, there's definitely needs to have a change, at the hierarchy, because right now, traditionally in the military, every soldier or every officer, looks forward to attaining, the highest position. And whether we like it or not, this change is inevitable, and it does help. It kind of, motivates and reinvigorates the
Colonel,
the
could you shed some light on this more? Because, these are, as you refer to them, fine officers, gentlemen, they're professionals, they are at the top of their career. They know all these things in terms of what happens to the morale, how they need to get results. Why then do you think they are still there? Could it be because, look, they can't afford to step aside because the president will not have it? He's the commander-in-chief. What do you think is going on?
Well, Chamberlain, the truth be told, the service chiefs are there at the pleasure of Mr. President. He has the prerogative, and, well, as long as he feels comfortable with them. But I just think that, in my opinion, since even the National Assembly took this up, in my opinion, I think one will even be doing the present service chiefs a lot of favor by, allowing them to honorably bow out, so that some fresher, younger ones can come up. That's just my own personal opinion.
So can they, on their own, sorry, Colonel, can they on their own say, Mr. President, in light of what's going on, please, we need to step aside?
Absolutely, they can. Why not? Nobody can be compelled to. I mean, you can't force. They say you can't force a willing employee on an unwilling employer. Well, let's say the employer in this instance is the Nigerian citizens. So I think they can. They can.
Okay, so permit me to let me hypothesize just for a bit. Now, there are different theories, conspiracy theories, albeit some think, look, there may be some elements, columnists, if you will, who just are stoking certain things within the system to engineer the service chiefs being removed. Could there be any truth in that from what you think? And how should we proceed, if at all, they need to verify any of those?
Well, I think that's, like you rightly alluded, it's conspiracy theory. People sit down and concoct all sorts of things when things are not really moving probably in the way they expect it to. But again, in fairness to these service chiefs, they came in 2015. The situation was really, really bad. And then they've tried. They have tried. I must give it to them. I mean, the three service chiefs, in fact, all the service chiefs, they have really tried, put in a lot of effort. But at the same time, I mean, nothing lasts forever, and, you are looking at maximum of about 2.5, 3 years. It's enough time for them to have made whatever impact, they have made. Otherwise, I mean, like what I'm saying now is as if we have a state of diminishing returns, even though they are in their own ways, they are trying their best. But you recall that their best is no longer acceptable, and it's not good enough. Even the president expressed that. So I think there's need for an overhaul. There's need for injection of fresher and younger officers to come on board. And like you rightly opined, I don't think any one of them is less than the age of maybe about 60 now. I don't know. So that's not even the issue. But the point is that having stayed in the office for this long, I think there's need for them to allow other people to come on board and come up with fresher ideas. And then let's see how, for all you care, you cannot rule out sabotage. But how does that come in? As people, sometimes when they are spent out or when they are frustrated, they adopt all sorts of means, to vent their frustration.
Let's bring it back here for a bit, Connor. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I've also been wondering why is it that in the circumstance we find ourselves, where public security has gone under, and these guys are still being kept, and the only plausible explanation one can give is this whole issue of regime security philosophy. When the president looks at service chiefs and assesses their functions, what does he rate higher than the other? Is it protection of the regime in power or citizens of public security? So, and you look at over this past 5 years, there has not been any threat to the presidency, which means on that aspect of their work, regime security, they are very effective, right? But when it comes to citizen security or public security, where the rest of us are crying every day, not much is being done, and it seems not to be prioritized, which comes back to the citizens. When you are faced with this kind of situation, what do you do?
So what if there are additional considerations in terms of perhaps if they say before these service chiefs came in, certain areas were in control of the insurgents. Now that they're here, a lot limited areas are in control. What if those were part of the considerations?
Actually, what one sees is that we have seen wider expanse of space in the country where insurgents, whether you call them bandits, you call them kidnappers, or all kinds of marauders, have taken control. I mean, when they came in, when the government came in, the main theater of concern was the Northeast and the sporadic, bombing of places like Abuja. But right now, there is hardly any state in Nigeria where the citizens are not concerned, and as we say, proverbially sleeping with one eye.
Isn't it interesting, Mr. Chukuma, that all of these things that we are saying are not unknown to various strata of authority in Nigeria, and it seems that these things continue to fester. For instance, you heard the governor of Kaduna State saying the other time that there are other elements being added to the conversation now. How do we engage the people in all of these? Because ultimately it's about them.
Precisely, because like I said earlier, on the part of the states and the functionaries, it would seem that the security forces are doing well to protect them. But where the citizens don't feel sufficiently protected, in the past we have seen pockets of people coming together to protest, to assert their interest that the state needs to do more, which is not doing.
Quick ones for both of you to respond before we wind down. Even if we change the service chiefs, does that address the problems?
It doesn't, which is why I said earlier it goes beyond merely improving security capacity or changing the leadership. But that will send a signal. And in governance, signals and symbols are as important as the substantive issues that you need to do.
Colonel, give us your thoughts as well to the same question. Even if we change those service chiefs, what impact do you see that making?
Well, it's something that has to do with the psyche, Even the fighting forces, once they know that there's a change, and I mean, at the top, it might really positively affect their fighting spirit, their psyche. And then even for the citizens too, generally. And I'm sure whoever comes on board will be desperate or will try as much as possible to create a positive impact with a lot of vigor. That's the way I see it. So like you said, you know, and of course, there's also the need to engage the citizens, because a lot of people are so disillusioned, they're so detached, they do not really have faith in the formal apparatus of government. So there's need, you know, to kind of reassure the citizens of protection, because all over the nation is either the issue of kidnapping, is either the issue of armed robbery, is either the issue of herdsmen just sporadically attacking citizens, innocent citizens.
All right, Colonel, we hear, but
sides.
Finally, pardon me, Colonel, so we need to wrap up this one quickly. Do you think the president gets briefs on all of these things going on?
He gets briefs. Is the kind of brief that he gets that matters. We are all on top of it. Because also the way our presidency and leadership structure in this country is made is such that the person is actually removed and gets a heavily filtered version of what is happening. Either it's presented as politics, it's your enemies that are, you know, going all over the Lagos and Port Harcourt and Ibadan press and saying this is not what. But he should, which is where the social network of a leader comes in here. And comparing him with Obasanjo. Obasanjo has people across the country that he could reach out to get second views about from what the official ones are telling. But when you have a president such as the one we have now and Jonathan that are restricted in terms of social networks and reach they have to get the information, it's difficult to do away with the package brief that they get that tells them all things are correct. It's just your enemies out there that are giving you, you know, all these false information.
All right, then, Mr. Innocent Chukwuma, Regional Director, West Africa for Ford Foundation. Thank you for coming on this morning. As well as retired Colonel Yomi Dare, former Director, Army Legal Services. Thank you for your time as well today. And happy Salah. Barakah Salah to both of you.